Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to WrestleLine. I'm your host, John Scott, joined as always by my co-host, Matt Essex, and of course we have been away for a long old time, so we thought we'd better get round to it, and just luckily, really tonight, literally about an hour ago. Excuse me. By the way, for my voice, I haven't been too well of late, so if my voice does cut out at points, that's the reason why. But yeah, going back to the point, myself and Matt about an hour ago, we just said, like, are you busy tonight? No. Am I busy? No. Let's just do a podcast tonight. So it's literally been very difficult, Matt, in the last, I'd say, month and a half, I would say, to get a podcast kind of sorted and scheduled, because we've both been quite busy in our personal lives. So we do apologise to all our listeners, and at the same time as being out, thank you always for being in contact with us. We and I do try to get back to everybody when I can. So Matt, how have you been?
Well, yeah, I'm glad we're going to get the podcast done. I mean, we're talking about how busy we've been lately. We just managed to squeeze this in, and probably like the busiest week that I've been in, because at the weekend, I'm actually going to move into my new place. Finally become a homeowner. Very excited about that. So there's that. But just as much as there is going on in my life, man, there's a lot more going on in the world of wrestling, isn't there? I mean, well, they're on a global tour, it seems like, almost. Australia, and then coming back to the Middle East, and wow, they're all over the place.
Yeah, it's crazy the amount of different promotions going on in WWE at the moment, and globally as well. It's very, very confusing, and it's a good place to start actually on the podcast. I think we might as well start us off with talking about that, because we've had a lot of emails about it, and people sort of saying, is there just too much promoting going on at the moment? That it's very difficult to get your head round what you should be interested in the most, because you take Hell in a Cell, the most recent WWE pay-per-view, and a lot of the live crowd, at least, weren't too happy with the way it finished, let's say. And a lot of it, Matt, could have been, you've got a WWE pay-per-view, but all of a sudden they've got another pay-per-view to try and sell as well on top of that, and it almost sort of got sacrificed a little bit, I felt, especially in the main event. I think the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view was actually pretty decent up until that point. I just felt like they kind of sold them short by almost doing a kind of just a Monday Night Raw conclusion almost, with a lot of smoke and mirrors with the whole Seth Rollins on the cage and stuff like that on the cell. I felt like they were just kind of doing a few stunts to try and make people happy, but realistically, I think if you paid good money, which you have to, by the way, for these WWE pay-per-views, they're not cheap to go and watch. I think I would have been a little bit disappointed to know that the pay-per-view I went to watch kind of got sacrificed for a show that's going to be taking place in, Australia, and then not only that, further along, going back to, of course, Saudi Arabia, so for the crown jewel. But Matt, what are you making of all this stuff? Because, like I say, it is hard, because they're trying to sell you Hell in a Cell, but then, weeks before Hell in a Cell, Matt, we've got Triple H coming out telling us, why he's got to face the Undertaker, and Undertaker showing up, and Shawn Michaels. It's kind of like it kind of taking you out of what we should be focusing on a little bit here.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there's definitely too much going on at the same time. I mean, you used to have the 4 big pay-per-views of the year, quarterly almost, but now, when they get in the kind of money they make from these outside areas the Middle East, and getting from Australia, they're under pressure now to put on just as good a show as the top 4, which is really difficult. And like you said before, sacrificing finishes to smaller pay-per-views or less important ones, it really doesn't sit well with a lot of people. I mean, like you said, the pay-per-view itself was pretty good, but if someone's going to feed you like a mud sandwich at the end of a feast, you're always going to remember that bitter taste in your mouth at the end of it. That's what you go home with. I mean, we've had that, even though we enjoyed ourselves at the SummerSlam that we went to, that kind of finish, you know, it just leaves you like leaving the building with questions, and you don't want that half the time. But yeah, like I said, there's just too much going on. I mean, I'm not against these outside promotions or like working in other countries and that, because I think it's great to get the global exposure. It's just the fact that it's almost like they're focusing too much on that at the cost of everything else right now. It's just a shame.
Yeah, it's not just that as well. Don't forget you've got Evolution coming up, and you know they've been dropping matches like in weird spots, you know, in like pre-shows and stuff like this. And you're like, why are they announcing it here? Like, where's that come from? Like, where the hell did Mickey James versus Lita come from? You know, like, what's that about? You know, that just was such a random kind of thing. But yeah, there is just so much going on in general for all this stuff at the moment that, you know, we are kind of all confused. Matt, I just want to kind of harp back to Hell in a Cell just quick. What did you, as a summary, what did you make of the show? Like, you know, there are a few things that happens that I thought were not too bad, and just to kind of scan over what we got. I mean, obviously AJ Styles and Joe went again. I actually enjoyed that match, and I actually didn't mind the ending either. But you know, I know a lot of people been a little bit iffy, but I'm kind of still kind of bought into this kind of feud at the moment. What did you make of their match at Hell in a Cell?
Well, that's one of the ones they actually did well, because, like, again, they had the same problem where they needed to drag this feud out, and they needed to get another match out of this somehow, and that was kind of the perfect way of doing it, because, you know, you had the definitive winner, but, you know, questions were still raised at the end, and it just piqued your interest a little bit more, rather than seeing what happened with Brock and then just pretty much pissing on the match. But yeah, I like the way that Joe and AJ worked that out, and that's still got my interest, because you do believe that the title can still change, whereas on the other brand, you know, I'm not too sure the title is going anywhere right now. Yeah.
Other things that happened, we had The Miz and Maurice beating Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella. I mean, yeah, it's all getting a little bit too much for me, this feud, really, between them. You know, and I really disliked it when they brought their wives into it. I can't believe we're going down this road now, but then I can believe it, really, because this is WWE. Any surprises with the winners being, you know, back on still? The Miz is still getting the upside of this?
Oh yeah, definitely. You're always going to be surprised about that. I mean, Daniel Bryan was the guy and the one that everyone wanted to see, but I'm glad that the Miz is getting some kind of recognition for the hard work he's put into the company over all these years. He deserves to be on top, like, at least one more time. So if they're going to build and build, this is a good way to do it. And, you know, who's to say that further down the line they won't have another match around WrestleMania time, and I'm sure they'll up the ante even more there.
Yeah, you're right. And of course, the only other things that kind of, I guess, were the big things of the night. Of course, what did you make of Becky Lynch and Charlotte? Again, their match. I mean, you know, people saying that they're kind of enjoying it, but, you know, is Becky going to be accepted as the natural heel here in all this? What did you make of their match and where that's been going?
I thought that all along, that people wouldn't really boo her or follow in that path, but, you know, it's just another one of those things where nothing's black and white these days. You don't get the cheers you want from the people, you don't get the boos you want from the right people. I think it's another interesting one, though, because she's pretty good as a heel. You know, I was kind of doubting that she'd be able to carry it off the way that she is, but she's doing a good job at it. It's just the crowd reaction that isn't right. But it's another one of those things where they're happy to go the opposite direction with Roman. So, you know, if they're going to want to do it this way, where the bad guy is actually really cool, you know, that's great. I mean, it worked a few times in the past with notable people like Austin. So, if you're going to do that, she could just become a bigger star from this. Absolutely.
And of course, the main event of the night, you know, obviously without going into it too much, Roman Reigns, no contest against Braun Strowman in a match that went 24 minutes. But like I said at the start of the show, there was a lot of smoke and mirrors going on. You know, we had, you had Ambrose out there, you had Seth there, and all this sort of stuff. I mean, man, first of all, I do want to say something, Matt. That red cell, I was not a fan of that. I really don't enjoy. I didn't enjoy the fact that they made it all red and very, very gimmicky. Now I have to say, like, it's kind of lost any credibility I once held and respect for that whole structure. Like, and I don't doubt it hurts and everything else, but like, my God, it seems like they're really going a completely different direction with this, and now you have to know this is the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view and we're going to paint it red. It's it was quite something. I wasn't really for it. What did you make of the new look, first of all, Matt, and then going on to the main event itself?
Yeah, I think you're right there. Definitely gimmick kind of thing with that, but it kind of made me feel like when I saw it for the first time, I was like, is there a new kids toy coming out? Is it going to be red?
Yeah,
you're
right.
Basis of that, is that where we're going with this? But we'll see in a few
Probably.
months whether there's going to be one of them. But the whole thing was kind of weird. I mean, the fact that Randy Orton and Jeff went out first, I really wasn't expecting anything from that match, but they seem to be the only guys that came out there ready to show you just like what this event is supposed to be about, and just it's supposed to be violent, it's supposed to shorten careers, and they're the only two guys that really came out there and showed it on the night.
Yep, absolutely. And of course, as I said, no contest. Brock Lesnar, introduced by Paul Heyman, comes back. Quite a big surprise, I think. Matt, was you surprised? Got quite a big pop as well, which was strange, but I don't think anyone expected him to be there that night, Matt, and obviously we know now why he's there, but it was a bit strange, Matt, that he was there at Hell in a Cell, and he came out at the end. Was you surprised when you saw it?
Oh yeah, I was completely surprised. I didn't really suspect that kind of thing. I kind of thought like they were just going to go the generic kind of route with Roman wins and that's it for Braun Strowman. But it's an interesting dynamic, and a triple threat like that actually, it sounds a bit weird that them three are going to be in the same match that way, but I feel like it will be a good one. I feel like they're three physical kind of guys, and as long as like Brock's forgiven and forgotten, Braun's past physicality with him, then it should be a great match.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, I guess the three of these guys, they have been the most intertwined kind of programs that we've had in probably the last 24 months. So it does make sense that these three guys should actually be facing off. I think the big surprise was the fact that, Brock, obviously, just by looking at him, Matt, I don't think it takes a complete genius to realise that he's training. We know he's in training for the DC fight as this happens. And I think people expected, not to see Brock until that had all been done. But from obviously hearing about this payday, Matt, I think you can see why Brock maybe thought, hang on a minute, I'll work this, just put this in the training schedule. I'll take a couple of days out and work this match in Saudi Arabia, no problem, for the kind of money that's been reported here. So he's definitely going to be paid very well for this this showing. But interesting to see him back, and obviously fascinating to see what kind of agreement WWE and Brock Lesnar actually have, because it's certainly not come out publicly. So I don't know if this is just a one-off deal, or if they're on good terms that they'll just do this. But it does sound like Brock is going to be sticking around for a while longer, even after the DC fight happens. So interesting times there. So that sort of marks off Hell in a Cell, and of course we were also attendees, because I was thinking back to the last podcast, Matt. We didn't at that point, we were just kind of talking about we're heading to Raw, and of course we went to see Raw at the O2, Matt, quite a while ago now, I guess. About a month ago, I suppose it was. But I had a quite good night, I think, between us, Matt. I think we had a decent experience. We saw a little bit of better reception for Roman Reigns this time, I think it has to be said, Matt. Did you feel the same way for him back in the UK?
Yeah, actually, it's strange that, isn't it? It's like maybe he gets a bit of a better reception like that, but I feel like the whole shield behind